Hello and welcome to Horseplayer Happy Hour. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatal, coming to you from the Little House on the East Side, and very happy to be joined by a man on this Horseplayer Happy Hour broadcast who's coming to us from, he's East Side, but he's just south of me. He's coming to us from the Red House. He's not sure about that, but we'll discuss it in one moment when we welcome back after a couple of weeks, actually a couple of months absence to Horseplayer Happy Hour, my co-host Jonathan Kinchin. What's up, JK?
Yeah, I guess I'm south side, southeast. Yeah, and you know why I haven't been on? I mean, I always like to give people nuggets on Horseplayer Happy Hour because during Horseplayer Happy Hour I always have a drink. So when I have a drink, I usually
cheers. By the way, cheers.
I usually give more information than I should. The only reason that I'm never on Horseplayer Happy Hour is because Andy requires to work early on Thursday so he can work on like Saturday's card. So I have to work Thursday evenings. I have to work late on Thursday every time.
I see, because he gets.
I could put up a fight, but I don't want to get the little fella all riled up.
Clearly, that's not going to be pretty. So he just like cloisters himself away. He gets the Saturday PPs Wednesday night, and then he needs to do his thing. I mean, I don't know why he couldn't just do it in the morning and help us out, but you know, hey.
Well, let's Craig, producer Craig, let's send him a link and let's get him on. Let's ask him.
You text him, and we'll see if we can get this going.
This is how that goes.
A very memorable moment. Not as memorable. Michael Domable always takes the chance when that horse runs. I wish I could remember the name of the horse. This would be so much of a better story. But do you remember at one point on Horseplayer Happy Hour, you called Chad Brown live on air to ask about a certain horse that was running, and you told him he was on air, but he didn't quite realize that he was on air with the response that he gave. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I don't remember what horse it was, but yeah, I warned him, but he didn't hear me. I don't know if he didn't hear me. I just I warned him. I said, hey, you're on. But but his info was good. The horse didn't run well.
Yes, exactly. That's the important thing. All right, so we're in the midst of Horseplayer Happy Hour. What is Horseplayer Happy Hour? It is the best way that I know of, JK, to take $20 and turn it into $10,000. And the simplest way you can do this is you're participating in this contest on horseplayers.com. It is a $20 feeder into a Saturday $179 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge qualifier. And we have one of our best results of the season here with 176 entries. Good to see people. You know what? Probably the weather helps. I think people do like the single track. I have to say, we did the double track mirror of the Horse Players lineup last week, and the numbers actually went down, but they're big up to 176. Anyway, if you finish in the top 10% of this game, you win your $179 entry into Saturday. And from there, you're one of the top finishers. You win your $10,000 seat. But that's not all, because we have an interconnected series throughout the year, and eventually we'll get to that leaderboard to see who's going to win the Horseplayer Happy Hour Tour. The overall winner with whatever it is, the 7 or 8 best scores, check the rules, will get a $10,000 BCBC seat. But here's the other really cool thing. You could jump in today and have a chance to get another $10,000 prize, because any week you play in these games and you finish in the top 2, you qualify for our playoffs, which is an 80-person tournament at the end of the year. And it's got a great twist that I know you love, JK, the cut line concept. And this is a cut line where scores start over. So we start with 80. You got to just finish in the top 40. Then you move on the next week. That 40 goes to 20. That 20 goes to 10. And then those 10 fight it out, winner take all, Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. See, what is it about the cut line that you like? And why has nobody else done this besides us?
Well, that's a trick question, Pete. I like the thing about the cut line is because it rewards consistency, which I think the game of horse playing and handicapping should find ways to reward more, right? Because that lightning in the bottle day at the racetrack where you hit for 20, people, it's happened to us all, right? You hit for 20 and you look up 4 weeks later and that 20 is gone. and I think that's the idea of consistency, is just kind of showing up and performing at a high level, especially for something that's like the BCBC that really is, in my opinion, if you can win that contest, it says a lot about you as a horse player. Now it's a little bit of a lightning in a bottle type of, you have a great day and it can turn into a great run, but has to be some level of consistency throughout those 14 Breeders' Cup races. You can't just, you have to, even if you're going to just go all in on the last race, there has to be a level of consistency for you to have kind of kept yourself in somewhat of a position to make a play. So I like the cut line situation. And it's funny, I'm laughing because the other day we did that podcast from the car, and it reminds me of the hour drive when I was driving down, when I was in Austin, going to pick up Austin from school, and like realizing that we came up with this concept just driving down. It took a couple of drives, I think, but just coming up with a way to get more people qualified in a way where it's kind of can create that Chris Moneymaker effect from the World Series of Poker.
And we've got some ideas on that. Hopefully they'll get further and see the light of day. If you're curious what we're talking about, check out the World Horseplayer Tour, which I haven't watched in a while. We maybe next year we'll do a 5-year anniversary screening of. I'm guessing 5 years. Maybe it might have been longer actually. But
I watched it the other day, and it's
is it good?
Yeah, I'm proud of what we did. There's not a whole lot of changes. I mean, I think there's some things that we thought were that mattered more than they did. But we didn't know that until we did it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Some of the
you can learn from our mistakes. One thing I've noticed about reality TV, one way that action for television reality purposes is pushed along is the idea of somebody leaving after every event. Perrin loves Sing On. Have you seen Sing On? It's a few years old, but it's like this. It's a pretty hilarious and fun singing competition show, but they're competing all for the top prize and who's going to win that later. But every song in the analogy for us, production meeting in the middle of the show here, by the way, every race, somebody goes home. So that could be an interesting way. I'd want to do it in a way that didn't force the action too much, but there's something there. There's something there that we could play with. And, maybe at some point, we could mess around with this I think the time to do it may be, post Breeders' Cup. Just, we've got a YouTube channel. We've got important folks with YouTube channels that are partners like Breeders' Cup. There might be a way we could just get together, do a few pilot episodes, just, sort of like we did that in the run up to World Horseplayer Tour, where we just gathered together half a dozen people and play with different formats and see if we can find something that could resonate within the deeper world of media. I mean, there's arm wrestling channels with millions of subscribers on YouTube. Surely we can do something consistent from a horse racing point of view to present this sport in a way that captures some of that drama.
I'm laughing because my wife and I watched a new reality dating show last night on HBO, and that's as much as I'll tell you. And it's wild. But yes, someone goes home at every stage.
Can we steal from them? Can we steal some ideas from them?
Pete, you're gonna die when you find out what it is.
It's got to be pretty saucy if JK won't say, but it is Breeders' Cup Airwaves. This isn't could you say it on our airwaves?
This is the late week show. I would just say it. Anyways, but so I think that's what makes the cut line so great is that, those, and if you think about it, the 80 people who won or got second throughout the year, you don't want one bad day for their year of effort to just kind of go out the window. You want them to have a chance to have a good day, have a good day, have a good day, and have a good day, and have a chance of winning. But if you run it into, it's one of the things about these, 300-person contests where the top 2 people get the prize, man, you got to have a special day. And look, we've all had a couple of those before, but man, it's really hard to duplicate.
And what I like about it too is you don't want a contest format that's so simple that the answer is just play the favorite. Somebody just playing the favorites, they'll probably get away with getting through, the first leg. But when you have to do that 4 times in a row, what I think it's going to reward is somebody who's playing correctly, who's identifying the good favorites and playing them. But you're not going to that's not going to get you through 80 down to 1. At some point, you're going to have to really show your handicapping acumen. So
that idea makes my stomach hurt.
What's that?
That idea makes my stomach hurt because just, what people always ask me is like, in contests, what do you do? What do you do? I always just tell them over and over again, especially in $2 win place, mythical win place, play what you like. Just play what you like. And then there is moments in which if what you like doesn't make game theory sense to you, then you can adjust to what you do like that you also like that makes game theory sense to you. But like going into a tournament like that, saying I'm going to play every favorite to limp in, it's very similar to me. It's like I'm going to bet show until the last race of the BCBC, and then I'm going to bet the whole 10,000. I mean, cool if that's what you want to do, but I
just don't think it will work. I really don't think it would work. I mean, it might work. It probably works better than picking randomly in our cut line format, but I don't think it's going to get you home for the 10,000. I think you've got to be. I think you've got to be more shrewd than that. So it's a format that I like and something I want to see more of. Now we've got Belmont at Aqueduct coming up. Speaking of Chad Brown, there he is on TV. Looking at my there he is.
I texted him. I texted him if he liked this horse, and he it's a yes. It's not a no, but it's not a I'm 100% sure. It's a what I mean. It's one of those.
It wasn't an overwhelming endorsement. And what price is the horse right now?
The horse is even money. But I also think if you look, and here's the other thing too, is that the horse has been down at Belmont. So since Chad's probably seen the horse live work, I would guess maybe September 9th. So right after the meet was over, and September 15th. But both of those were obviously on the dirt. So look, I'm sure he has an idea of what but he didn't get to see the horse breeze over the grass. So that might be a little bit of the hesitation and for him to give me the love situation. But
what do you know the ownership history of this horse? Was it a Brandt horse when it was with Gosden?
I'd have to look. I don't know. Because I don't think like with the European, it doesn't time form doesn't show the ownership.
No, but if we go to attiraces.com, we can see it. Francesco Clementi is the name of the horse.
Yeah. Let's see.
One of us should look this up while the other vamps, as opposed to both of us looking it up.
It was with John. Yeah. Okay. Well, I was just looking at time form to see if there was a little bit of a.
I think we got to go to attiraces.com and look the horse up. I'll do that. I mean, I'll say one thing about Gosden in general. I don't know what this is, but you typically, when Gosden sends horses over, of course, they're phenomenal. But when a lot of the times when you see ex-Gosdens, and I could be wrong about this, but I feel like when you see ex-Gosdens, they often don't do great over here, as if he doesn't let them get away almost. But this horse was Peter Brandt. I'm looking at the silks the horse wore at Ascot, and this was always a Peter Brandt horse. So this is not I don't think ex-Gosden is negative at all here.
Just a change of scenery.
Exactly. They've something about this horse they've decided can run well in the U.S. And, I mean, just looking at the form over there, yeah, I mean, this horse is, running in the Wolford and Stakes against Bolshoi Ballet, probably supposed to lay over this field.
You see the House Silks on the 6 right there? I don't know if you saw it, the Belmont House Silks.
Do they have special Belmont at Aqueduct House Silks now?
Yeah, they do. They do. They absolutely do. They have at Belmont, they have green. There's a green silks with the tree.
Okay.
So I saw a race at Saratoga. I can't remember which one it was, but I laughed. There were 3 horses in the race that had on House Silks.
Oh my God.
So there's the red Saratoga House Silks. There's the white Saratoga House Silks, and a horse had on the Belmont House Silks because they didn't have another House Silk.
Yeah, to give Frank a break. Give him a you don't want to put the same. So I mean, you could do the same silks in a different cap, but like, why do that to the race caller?
Yeah, no, it would be very nice.
From a contest point of view, I think it's probably fair to say that you wouldn't want to be taking Francesco Clemente in that context at even money. Where would you?
I mean, it depends, right? Let me pull up the leaderboard because I know we're going to watch the video. So let me just find the leaderboard. It just depends on where you are. And that's the thing. That is what I tell people is you play what you like. And until it doesn't make mathematical sense for you to do it. So if you're in a position where, it also matters what you're playing for as well, right? Like if you're just looking for, points to accumulate points, and you need a top 5 finish, or you want to be second. Well, it's not a live contest anyways, but if it was, I have no problem taking a short price horse. But the other part of that equation is, and this is where it makes it so tricky, is you could also be protected by that short price horse. Right. So you don't necessarily have to take the horse, because if the horse wins, people behind you won't make up that much ground. You can be protected by that horse and then take a horse that you find a little bit more interesting, maybe the 1 or the 4 or whatever it might be. And then you can use that. You can use that 8 horses protection.
If I want to make a bet here, what should I be doing? That's what I really want to talk about. Do we, I feel like Francesco Clemente is supposed to win, but who's the exacta partner? Who's the horse that we might want to look to otherwise? You mentioned the other Chad Brown. That certainly wouldn't be the first time we saw that movie. This horse makes a lot of sense. I mean, Exact Estimate was close to a very fast pace before stopping last time, so maybe that's a built-in excuse. Back at the same level, Irad continues to sit in the irons. You give Exact Estimate any count in this spot?
The horse can win. But didn't run particularly well last time. But I'm not drawing too many conclusions from performances we saw at Saratoga based on the fact that the racetrack was a little bit tricky. The turf course was here. The turf course was there. Horses were, horses probably missed training in the morning sometimes because they didn't want to go out on a sloppy racetrack. I mean, just the weather at Saratoga needs to be taken into consideration. I wouldn't necessarily look for Exact Estimate to be the other horse that I would use in here. I know he's short, but Daunt had some big numbers prior to that attempt in the Sword Dancer, and I don't think that's the greatest race of all time, but it's definitely a nice race in comparison to what we're seeing here in this allowance race. And also, got 4th that day in a race where the turf was soft. And so I think Daunt makes sense getting back on Lasix. There's lots of things pointing in that direction, but I don't necessarily need the one Exact Estimate.
If I were playing in a live contest and maybe not doing so well and trying to get up off the canvas, big price, I could tell you a story about, and not just because I happened to see Linda Ronstadt when I was a little boy in the cast of Pirates of Penzance on Broadway, JK. But Ronstadt, you look through these PPs, this is a closer who runs well without getting setups. Now, I'm not saying the setup is going to definitely be here, but just in terms of if I'm looking for one at a very big price, this is a horse that I think is probably better than the bare form looks. And you're looking at a horse that's a very well-bred, that has some excuses, and is an extremely big price. So can you give me, I don't know also why you name a gelding Ronstadt. Should be a filly, but anyway, I think I can tell you a story about Ronstadt.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not like fully. I'm trying to pull it up right here. There was a sibling. There's 2 siblings that look like sprinters, and so the idea of going the 1 1/8 for a horse that has been running at 1 1/16 or a mile, I guess that would be the biggest question. And I try not to fall for the closer going shorter once longer thing. But like you said, at a number, I wouldn't talk anyone off.
Yeah, it's just the closing into the blue fractions. That's a potent, we talk about it so often. Blue fractions on Time Form US, very hard for horses to close into that. And that makes it a little bit interesting. Yeah, I'm looking now at your 6, the 6 with the bell, with the house silks and the gigantic cow face. That's actually Ronstadt.
Look at that. See?
So
we're on to something here.
Want to give a holler, Chris chiming in the comments. He's talking about his experience in Horseplayer Happy Hour and how that played out for him. Richard, who's been regular in the comments, good to see him in there. And our buddy Rob Capalbo also liking, responding to the bet what you want, bet what you like to bet. And that makes it a much easier time making wagers than to, it's so easy to outsmart yourself in this game, and that's an easy way to avoid it. All right, we are going to send this to, we've been doing the calls live this year, JK, unless you want to call the race.
Absolutely not. Let's go.
We'll leave it to John and Brielle.
And they're off. And it was a somewhat hesitant beginning for number 8, Francesco Clemente, who's towards the back of the pack, if not indeed last in the field here early on. Tide of the Sea, exact estimate. On the outside, Alternate Reality. Then Daunt, who is sitting in 4th, followed by Good Skate in 5th. Then Freedom Trail in 6th. Ronstadt is down at the rail in 7th. And Francesco Clemente is the trailer in 8th. Opening quarter, 24 seconds. Tide of the Sea takes the field into the clubhouse turn. Tide of the Sea opening up here by 3 lengths. Alternate Reality is second by a length and a half with exact estimate in 3rd. Then a break of 2 to Daunt in 4th, almost 7 lengths from the lead. On the outside is Freedom Trail. Down at the rail is Good Skate. Those two right together. And at the back are Ronstadt and Francesco Clemente. Tide of the Sea steps away here to lead by 4.5 lengths. Ran the half mile in 48 and 4. Alternate Reality, second by a half length. Exact estimate is on the outside and in 3rd. Then Good Skate and Daunt right together, 4th and 5th. Freedom Trail, followed by Ronstadt, and Francesco Clemente continues to trail. They go around the far turn now. Tide of the Sea is the leader, but the lead's down to a length and a half. Exact estimate is on the move on the outside, and Daunt follows that move. And Freedom Trail is now gearing up out in the middle of the course. Then Francesco Clemente, exact estimate, has now taken the lead. Daunt is moving up along with Freedom Trail. Then Francesco Clemente, exact estimate in front by 2.5 lengths. Freedom Trail with one last try on the outside. Exact estimate. Freedom Trail. They come for the finish. Exact estimate, the winner, half length. Freedom Trail was second. Then Daunt and Francesco Clemente.
Ride there by Rod Ortiz, I thought, having the confidence to let that Tide of the Sea get that far in front and sort of just hold position and be in a place to attack. That was impressive. There was a moment there where I was like, did he give this thing too much rope? As usual, he knew exactly what he was doing, and he'll score as a $10 winner there in the 7th race at Belmont at Aqueduct. Big run from the 5, but can only get within half a length or whatever it was at the end. Couldn't get the job done, but some nice points for those in the contest who used the 5 runner. Any thoughts on what we just saw, Jonathan?
No, he seemed to like the additional ground that he got. And look, he ran well 2 starts back. He just didn't run particularly well at Saratoga with not a huge excuse. I mean, like I said, I kind of pointed it out that I think that you got to forgive horses for what they might have done, or you can question what they did at Saratoga throughout the meet, just based on the moisture on the racetrack. And, I don't necessarily, and this is not a New York thing, I don't necessarily trust how any of the turf courses are labeled in this country. It's good, it's soft, it's not, it's firm, but it's not firm. But I think that racetracks think that, like that. I think that they think like bettors are hesitant when it says good. So if it's even close, they just list it as firm. Because I think a lot of them are mislabeled. You know what I mean? And like I said, not just New York, everywhere. I think it happens all over.
Time Form US is one good. It's funny. They don't sponsor the show as much as we talk about them. You'd think they would, but they do have that. They make it into a 10-point designation that is very, very useful. Based on whatever their I don't know if they're doing that with an algorithm or some basis of the time, but it does give you a perspective, and it can show you'll have a track that's a firm 10 or a firm 6, and over time you can start seeing the differences in them. But yeah, I think definitely I wouldn't be necessarily taking some of that Saratoga turf form super literally. I think that's the main point.
Yeah. I just think that there's opportunities off of the races that we saw this summer at Saratoga,
and we'll get to some of those, I'm sure. We have the idea of this show. I didn't get to it till 25 minutes in, so call it a host fail. But we've got a bunch of Breeders' Cup questions to answer. We'll start with one from Richard. JK, do you have a Breeders' Cup horse you might like already, like Tamara, who would be mine if I had to name one? If you ask me who I'm betting already, I don't think I have any money. I have a friend looking for a price on Tamara for me overseas. I just think she's going to be very, very tough to beat. How about you? Anybody that already you're going to be betting on?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's interesting. I think Prince of Monaco, if he can come back, he ran a slow figure last time, but two back he ran a fast figure. I'm sure we'll see him again if he can if he can kind of get closer to that number two back. He's the type of horse I could see myself building my day around. Whoever the Europeans or Japanese or anyone not in the continental, 50 states brings over for the turf. I could see myself locking into that, very similar to what we saw with Enable and Tarnawa. I just don't trust. I don't think any of our long distance turf horses want anything to do with that. The problem is if they bring over 3 or 4 good ones, then I have to figure out which one. I'm hoping just one superior one comes like we've seen in the past. And then Arabian Night for me, I understand that these 3-year-olds can continue to improve. And to me, the least exposed horse of all is Arabian Night. We saw Arabian Night, who looked like an early Derby favorite in the spring, was sidelined, came back probably as a short horse in the Haskell, but ran okay, considering, and then comes back and wins the Pacific Classic, a 1.25 mile race off of 1 mile and 1/8 prep race. In a abbreviated spring campaign. You'd like to think he's going to take another step forward. And I saw today in the DRF that Baffert's likely going to train up to the Classic. And if anyone's going to train up to the Classic, I have no problem with him doing that because he did it successfully with Arrogate and also with American Pharoah.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a very interesting one.
And it's a home game.
Yeah, tell me if you're in the comments. I see that Frankie just chimed in with a UK price. Frankie, what's the best price on Arabian Night right now for the BC Classic? Tamara, best price 2-1. Oh, we got some greetings from Ecuador. We'll say hi back to that. Love the international viewers here for Mr. Cabeza over there. Tamara right now, best price 2-1 in the UK. I think that's a good price. I mean, I know it's not a layup, but I mean, isn't she going to be 4 to 5 on the day? I mean, I guess it depends. There's some serious competition with the horse that won at Churchill and Ways and Means and Bright Work. But I mean, I just have a feeling when it's all said and done, Tamara's going to be a lot closer to even money than 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, she feels like one that has upside too, right? It's like not one that we've seen the best of her quite yet. It's a fast number she got last time, huh?
Exactly. I mean, running faster than the 3-year-olds in many
and the pedigree is like you're not going to question. What are they going to do? Are they going to run in the prep at
I assume they'll run in the what is the Santa Anita chandelier came to mind.
What'd you say?
Chandelier is the word that came to mind. But
that's right. I think that's right. Or that's what it used to be.
Gotcha.
Maybe it's something different now. I know the American Pharoah used to be the front runner.
Right. Oh, so I might be off. If you're in the comments, let us know that too. I like being able to be fact checked in real time. 7-1 Arabian Night, says Frankie. Would you bet that right now?
Yeah, because, well,
I keep making your head hurt this year.
There's no preps. They're not. I mean, no one's prepping. Arcangelo's not going to prep. He's not going to prep. White Abario's not going to prep. I think there's going to be so many horses that don't prep that I'm not sure what's going to change between now and then.
Right. That's fair.
Okay. So here's what I always do when it comes to these future situations is 7-1 today with all of those with, 6 weeks in between, 7 weeks in between that things that happen to racehorses where, they step on rocks and then they can't run. What am I going to get on the day? 5-1. Arcangelo will likely be shorter than him.
Definitely. Arcangelo is a big favorite in the futures.
So Arcangelo will be shorter than him. Go Rocket Ride will be a similar price to him. White Abario, will likely take some money as an older horse.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I don't.
It's.
How much better of a price?
Yeah,
and he's gonna go off he'll go off no lower than 9-2, 5-1 on the day,
and probably more like the 7-1 he is now. At the same time, it's not if you when you play this game, sometimes it's like, well, you've got to take a bet on the board. It still might be the bet you took on the board in the race.
Right.
We're hearing people from all over the world. I love this. We got Chile Real from the Dominican Republic saying hello. We'll say hi back. This is a question from Nay Rodriguez. When will your horse be ready? I think this is referring to the project that you did with the phase of Tipton sale. Do you have any news on the runner you got?
No, well, one of them won at Saratoga, and the other one, I'm not 100% sure what happened. But I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I'm not sure exactly what happened with the other one. But Payzone,
Saratoga.
Yeah, Payzone won at Saratoga, in a maiden claiming race. And that was with my friends at Black Type Thoroughbreds, and I'm not 100% sure what happened to the gray filly. I mean, not like in a bad way. I can't remember if they sold her or if I think they might have sold her, so I'm not sure where she is now.
All right, well we'll get an update on that. Have we heard anything about what the latest from Disarm is? I don't think I have. Have you?
No, there was an announcement that he wasn't going to run until next year again.
Okay.
I remember that that was like on we like said it on the show. I remember.
Gotcha. That's good. That's good to be.
What is that stake? I'm still looking up that stake because it is a chandelier now. It used to be something else. So you're right. Chandelier. Yes.
Nice. I'm happy about that. We got a question from Richard about a horse Chad Brown named for his dad. What do we know about this runner, JK?
Wow.
His dad, Jerome, who's been a big supporter of ours. He's come to our events in Saratoga. I had a great chat with him about fishing. Like, super nice dude. I don't
know the horse. What's the horse's name?
I don't know. Richard, do you know any more info? We'd love to know about that. That sounds very interesting. All right, we do have some more questions. I want to get to them before it's all said and done. Some of these questions are Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge specific, and we do have Drew Coatney appearing in the comments. So the BCBC ones, let's bring in Drew after the next race in Saratoga, and we'll do the BCBC questions that I'm getting. Here's a very random one that I'm going to answer because it's easy. It's one for me. How did I get started wearing hats? And there actually is a story here. Have I told you this story, Jonathan?
Oh, yeah. So just quickly, JK's late dad. My father's the horse that they named that it was actually Bob Edwards in E5 who named the horse. She's been retired and she's in full to Speightstown.
Oh, fantastic. That she's got a great bloodlines and was very good. Just she had little niggling injuries, right? That cut the racing.
Yeah, she just never really trained on. Like she should have probably won first out. Then she ran in the stake, hit the board as a maiden, and then she never really trained on.
Gotcha.
Tricky little Lope de Vega.
Well, there you go. But good bloodlines and really good. It's good to get some of that Lope de Vega blood into the USA pedigrees. Who did you say who's the sire of the baby?
Speightstown.
Yeah, I mean that should be a productive union, and one we'll obviously be following all the way along. So the hats question was a complete accident. So just randomly one day when I started working at Daily Racing Form, the place with the letters, I was asked to send in a publicity shot, and I had one publicity shot taken of me like ever at that point for a book I wrote about the Rolling Stones. Actually, no beard, and I happened to be wearing a hat. And they took the picture and they just cropped me and the hat and put it in the thing. And I still I didn't wear hats regularly. I wore a hat that day because it was sunny. And then subsequently, when the picture started appearing in the form, we went to a bunch of events. I remember one event, JK, do you remember this? We helped open up I want to say a sports book, but it probably wasn't a sports book. It was probably like an OTB. And where do you think that, like New Haven, Connecticut or somewhere? Do you know where it was?
No, it wasn't New Haven. It was in, the one that's right across where the wrestling thing. Where's WWE at? Stanford.
It was in Stamford, Connecticut. And I saw 6 people who were all like, "Where's your hat? Where's your hat? Where's your hat?" And then I went to, that summer in Saratoga or whatever. I went and, I saw the first 6 people I saw were like, "Where's your hat?" It's like, well, fuck, people are going to keep asking me, "Where's my hat?" I better put one on. And really, honestly, that was as simple as that. And then people start giving you hats and it's like, all right, well, we're just going to do that. And it probably coincided wonderfully with, me losing a lot of hair. So that wound up being, a positive thing too.
That's funny.
It all worked out. Let's do another leaderboard check, Craig, if that's easy to do, and then maybe we'll do a quick tour leaderboard, and then we can start looking at this race. We do have a bunch of other questions to get to as well. I'll start looking those up. There it is. Okay, so we've got Mark Stovall, Dan DeSena, Brian Hofacker, who's a name that somebody I knew a long time ago in this game, who I'm glad to see getting involved. Matt Miller is there, former BCBC champion. Earl Pratt, Mark Henderson, Howard Kaplan. Double-fisted Julie Leboyko. And playing the same entries in these contests makes a lot of sense this time of year, especially if you're looking to get really big results, because you can get 2 tour scores in one game. So that might be part of what's going on there. Christopher Olson, Jeff Van Dree, John Manarino, Leanne Warren, Michael Domable, who we talked about before, Gary Wright, and then 2 from Troy Robertson, who's clearly going for that tour, those tour points with the complete same entries for the 2. Good to see that. And then if we have a chance to go to the overall tour leaderboard, Craig, we'll do that. There it is. Jeff Van Dree is in front. Michael Domable, who's finished high up there before, right on his heels. This is going to be a great race to the finish. Brandon Snodgrass, Julie Leboyko, looking to improve her position. Stephen McNathan, Ron Faris, Andrew Yoretsky, Michael Robinson, Daniel Edwards, Matt Miller again there. He's in the top 10. And then Daryl Parker in 10th. We'll give a shout out to number 11 there too. Do you see who it is, JK? I'll give you a hint. White Russian.
Silky Wilkie. Wild gentleman.
Silky Wilkie is there. Looking forward to having a whiskey with him when we get to Keeneland in a couple of weeks' time. Are you going to be at Keeneland at all in the fall meet? What is your schedule looking like?
I don't think so. I got Austin. I'm going to Austin. I got a wedding here. Then I've got I guess I potentially could go like the week in between.
Contest.
Oh, well, you can play online now. So
I see. So you might,
that helps.
Might not be.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, and then Breeders' Cup, and then it's a lot. A lot of traveling.
Speaking of which, how was we talked about it a little bit on the other show, but to give folks on here, you've gotten a lot of congratulations, by the way, on the nuptials. Tell us about the honeymoon.
It was good. It was good. And we were in Capri and we had a great time. And the funny part I didn't tell you was we were sitting, we flew out of Rome, at the end of the trip. So we had like a half a day in Rome, and we were running around and, having a cafe and a Aperol spritz, sitting just like at some random place in Rome. And someone came up and said, JK.
What?
And like, oh my God, my friends aren't going to believe me, and took a picture. My wife was very annoyed that even in Rome, we got hit for a picture. So that was fun. That was pretty cool.
Great.
I was obviously clearly a New York person in Rome, not a Romanian. Notice, you know what I mean? But it was
I think it's just Roman. I think Romanian.
Roman. Yes. Sorry, Roman. You're right. Roman. Thank you for that. Romanian would be in Romania. Yeah,
yes,
it's a good point. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, here's a good question from Richard to turn us. I do have these questions we've got to get to, but how long have you been wearing your whole shirt thing developed on Fox? How long has that been going on? How did that develop? Yeah,
well, I mean, I was, it's funny. Like, I never been like a long sleeve shirt person. I've always been when I got the tattoos, I started just kind of wearing black t-shirts a lot because like the tattoo was kind of the colorful statement. I didn't need to have a shirt. And then when I started playing in contests and stuff, and you start having to wear collared shirts to be in certain rooms, and I wasn't going to wear like a polo and be kind of boring or wear like a long sleeve shirt. So I started wearing the short sleeve shirts, and then I just kind of started wearing them, and it wasn't really a big deal. I just really enjoyed wearing them. I'd wear them to the Derby. I'd wear them to the contest with the letters. I'd wear them to Breeders' Cup, wherever. And then basically when I got the gig, which is a funny story. We have time, but so when I got I'll rewind. I was hanging out with Pete at Saratoga, sitting in the secret spot, and I got a DM from someone that worked at Naira, and it said Tony Alivato wants to meet you. I had to Google who Tony Alivato was. I didn't know, and I went over to his office and he said, hey, we're doing a lot of shows on Fox and, you know, we need some more people to be on TV. Would you be interested? Are you going to be here next week? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be here next week, which was a complete lie. I was not going to be here next week. Then I went home, flew back, and then I did like 10 minutes. It was the day of Diversify winning the Whitney. I did like 10 minutes with Paul.
Where were you sleeping that weekend?
I was staying at Pete's house.
Right here.
Yeah, right there. And then, so, you know, I did that. And then basically Tony came to meet with Mattress Mac in Austin, like 3 months later. And he like offered me, hey, do you want to be on the show? Sure. Fast forward to January of the next year. We were doing a show in Santa Anita. I flew out to Santa Anita. I wore a suit and like a kind of a cooler shirt without a tie, but still wore like a suit. And then I remember texting Tony. I was like, hey, you know, like you guys hired me because like I'm like different than everyone else. Like, how about I just wear like my shirts? And Tony was like, sure, 100%. Let's do it. And that
what
was
did you worn the Whitney day? I can't remember.
What's that?
What on the Whitney day when you were here, the Diversify day?
No, I wore like a short sleeve, like button up, same thing. And then like it just kind of like turned into what it turned into, because the other part about it is like if I was gonna dress different than everyone else, I felt like I couldn't wear the same shirt twice. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, because if it's gonna be a thing, it's got to be a full thing.
You're gonna make it a thing. Make it a thing. No, that's
so I would accumulate shirts and just, you know, and then people started like the people that didn't know who I was or didn't know me or anything. They would just recognize me as the guy on TV with the funny shirts.
Amazing.
And then I mean, but honestly, it's more of a health thing at this point because I get so hot and sweat so bad on the show. I have no idea how I would survive if I had to wear like a jacket in a suit. I mean, I would literally not make it.
How do your colleagues do it?
And then they have to listen to me complain and like put ice packs on my legs and sit next to the AC.
They must be. I'm sure Greg Wolf and Lafitte have some choice words to say about you when you're not around. Let's put it that way.
Look, I got a doctor's note.
Richard points out now, of course, connect the dots here. So this then became your own line of shirts. And Richard mentions that the Bob Edwards E5 shirt is his particular favorite.
Yeah, we have 2 Breeders' Cup shirts. Actually, I should probably have Craig. I'll send you those. You can pull that up. We have 2 Breeders' Cup shirts that came out this year. And while I'm talking out, so the E5 shirt was, we wanted to kind of show people that we can do a custom shirt. We could do a shirt for your silks or for your brand, and there's minimums and all that type of stuff. But because I had such a great relationship with Bob and because he had made that wonderful gesture to name, you know, the filly after my father and blah, blah, blah. Like I felt like, let's do an E5 shirt. I love Rushing Fall. I love Good Magic. We'll do a shirt just to, you know, for Bob and just show Bob that like, hey, not show Bob, but show everyone else that we could do, you know, kind of custom shirts. And so that's how the E5 shirt came about. And it was it's been fun.
They're very reasonable minimums. If you're interested in that, our friends at Old Smoke Clothing, the ones to sort you out. And again, they do have wonderful Breeders' Cup apparel over there as well. One of my favorites that Old Smoke has ever done in JK collection or the Breeders' Cup ones. Here we got a horse racing legend chiming in here. Naja Thompson wants to ask us about the Santa Anita downhill turf course. Santa Anita, of course, getting ready to start. Santa Anita, the home of the Breeders' Cup this year. Unfortunately, the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint is not going to be run down the hill. It's going to be on the traditional oval. But Naj wants to know, JK, how do you approach the downhill turf course?
Well, it's my favorite. I mean, I love it more than anything. It really is just it's just outstanding. You know, it's very simple to me. I horses that are stretching out from 5, I do not give them much of a push for a couple of reasons. One is because their weapon is going 5. Their weapon is being fast, but I think when they start down the hill, their legs can only go so fast and they kind of lose what that weapon is. And then to me, the opposite of that would be horses that are like milers. They find themselves closer because the down the hill kind of neutralizes the speed of other horses. And now they have the ability to kick and finish. The other thing that I think really goes a long way is riders who have experience over the turf course. I actually talked to Chad Brown about this once when telling him about how much I love Bobby's Kitten, and his reasoning by riding Joel Rosario is that he said that riders that understand that crossing over the dirt, they don't brace for it to cross over it. They encourage the horses to kind of run through it, and that's a huge difference when you're running down the hill.
That loss of momentum, that bracing that an unfamiliar rider might feel, that's going to put you potentially behind the 8 ball. So you're typically, to sum it up, JK, much more interested in the miler cutting back on the downhill than you are that really fast.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think like you got to be a monster at 5 for me, or 5.5 for me to use.
I would say a couple other quick notes on the downhill turf course before we turn our attention to this race at the Belmont at the Big A. In a big field, the inside is disadvantageous. I think that's fair to say because of that little right-handed turn coming out. It's almost like the inside and outside posts are reversed. Now, in a small field, I don't think it really matters that much, but in a bigger field, I do think it's a big thing. Inside, very tricky. Generally speaking, I want a horse. It's not really that different than so many other races, right? But I want a horse with tactical speed to be able to be in position, but also has some finish. It feels like being able to be, somewhat forward. Obviously, Bobby's Kitten, a notable example, but generally speaking, being somewhat forward and able to finish and ideally drawn outside. That's the profile of the kind of horse I'm looking at for the downhill. Anything to add to that, JK?
No, I mean, I think, an outside post really helps quite a bit. And like I said, the best, my mouth starts to water when I see a horse who showed speed going a mile and faded, not walked on the front end and faded, fast early fractions on the front end and faded to second or third or fourth or whatever it might be. Those horses, when they cut back, they always run well. They might not always win, but they always run well.
And I think some of that has to do with the concept of cruising speed, JK. Like I think when a horse sometimes is on the front and going that certain, whatever that cruising speed is, it can be hard to finish when you're the one doing that dirty work, setting that pace. But when you're on the downhill and you can go that little bit faster, but are still drafting in behind horses the way that they can there, they can, for whatever reason, I can't really explain it, but they can pull more out at the finish. And I think that's something we've seen time and time again.
Just their tank is more full. Their tank is more full when they turn for home because gravity helped them get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's gravity helped them get to that point with a more full tank, And
I think it's easier just to somehow for horses, it's easier to, I think it's the herd animal thing. It's easier to relax when you're a little bit behind for a lot of horses. I mean, obviously speed is a weapon. I'm not saying, generally speaking, I want the horse that's going to be on the lead, but on that downhill course, I love a horse that can relax just off it and then find and finish. All right. We've got this race coming up at, Belmont at Aqueduct. Amazing question from Naj, who does such a great job with the New York thoroughbred breeders.
New York-breds. I start with an advantage, Naj, if you didn't know that.
You just see it over and over again, the way that these horses are competing on a national level. This is the program by which all the other state-bred programs should be measured. I had actually the other night, I had a lovely dinner at Hamlet and Ghost in town, JK, with a woman who was part of the Rachel, who was part of the Sakatoba partnership. First horse she ever owned part of, 'Tis the Law. How about that?
That's wild. You know what I want to know? This is what I want to know. Since it's a Breeders' Cup show, I have a feeling Naj might know the answer to this, and I'm hoping that I'm setting him up for success here. Which state-bred program has the most Breeders' Cup champions? It's got to be between. It's got to be. I feel like it's got to be between New York, Florida, and California, right?
Off the top of my head, Day at the Spa, New
York.
York-bred Breeders' Cup champion. Did Mind Your Biscuits win a Breeders' Cup race?
I don't think so.
But God, he won a lot of money.
He did.
There's certainly more. We should have prepped for this. New York.
Well, we didn't know Naj was gonna hit us in the comments. Someone knows the answer to this question. I mean, I don't even. Can you think of a Calbred?
Best
Oh,
pal?
I feel awful about this because I think it's Amazombi a Calbred and he passed this week.
Amazombi was a Calbred.
Oh well, there's a good transition. R.I.P. Amazombi, who was a Breeders' Cup champion that was from California. So that one counts.
Little bit
Someone
of a
says
host
Florida.
here. We're going into the gate, JK. We're going to the gate at Belmont at the Big A. Who did you like? Who did you like in this? Speaking of New York breds, we've got a New York bred race here, and I was very much drawn uncreatively to Perfect Munnings.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Mariachi.
We're off, unfortunately. So we did you absolutely no favors there. Let's send this.
And then it is a brew pub and a break of a half dozen lengths back to Big Engine, who trails the field in 8th. Mariachi, the leader here through a quarter in 22 and 1/5 seconds. Don't Lose Cruises down at the rail. Radio Red is now moving up on the outside. Perfect Munnings, the favorite, is back running in 4th here, dropping 4 lengths off the lead and now being passed by 2 more as Z-Bear moves up on the outside and Horn of Plenty down at the rail. They are at the top of the stretch. It is Mariachi with the lead through a half and 45 and 3. Z-Bear moves up on the outside to take second. Then Don't Lose Cruise and Radio Red. It is Mariachi with the lead. Z-Bear in second, passing the 16th pole. Mariachi dances home here to win by 3.5 lengths. Z-Bear was second. And it looked like Radio Red finished third to complete the trifecta.
Well, your pick was a lot better than mine. I didn't know I was giving out an even money shot that was going to run backwards. But Mariachi scores at a nice price. Good contest horse there. And Chris Couples had, before the race, touted a Radio Red, who ends up hitting the board at a very nice number. So good stuff there from you and from Chris. JK, I mentioned before, we've got him in the waiting room. Let's bring him in to answer some of these BCBC questions. He is Drew Coatney. Drew, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, guys. Yeah, you've got someone over there who's a back-to-back second-time champ here.
Well, thank you very much, Drew. And actually, Drew, you've won a lot of money in the BCBC. You could buy one of these shirts. Craig's gonna pop up on the screen real quick. You could buy one of these shirts if you
let's see it. Oh my God, let's check that out.
There it is.
It's got all the. This was one of their ideas, by the way, which we love. It's got all the logos from every Breeders' Cup. Which is cool.
I need one. Is this one production meeting in the middle of the show? Is this one where you sold them all the shirts, or can I bother our
they
friends
have all this? They have all the shirts. So your free shirt is you're gonna have to get with them on the free one.
I'll work on. Believe me, I'll work every angle. I just wanted to know who I needed to harass. So
and then there's the 40th one right there too.
Oh, I think I even like this better. I mean, they're both awesome, but I think I even like this one better. That's very, very cool.
Good thing there's 2 days for Breeders' Cup.
That's right. One for each day under my 3-piece suit. I don't think I'll go 3-piece in Santa Anita. It's too warm out there. So, Drew, you've been a stalwart on the shows this summer and really all year long. So great to have you back with us. We did get a question about what we're all drinking today. I've got the Maker's Mark. I stick with the sponsor when I'm on these shows. JK, how about you?
They're not a sponsor. Is there a beer sponsor for the Breeders' Cup?
No, there's no beer sponsor, so you can say anything.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I have just a Fiddlehead IPA. It's a little, up here on this side of the
East
world.
Coast IPA that you see. I don't know whether they have a good salesperson because they are all over Saratoga. You would think they were brewed in Saratoga from as much Fiddlehead as you see up here, and it's rock. I don't mean to knock it. It's rock solid. What about you, Drew? What do you got down there?
I'm water. I'm still working, getting podcast business done, getting all sorts of business done.
I like it. Well, you're working hard for us. We appreciate that. You'll be back with us to talk about Woodbine tomorrow, and we're going to debut a little sports betting segment. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a ton of fun. All right, now that we're all here, we have some questions very specifically about the Breeders' Cup. So, Breeders' Cup betting challenge this year. I don't know if you guys have paid attention to this, but this is wildly different. Not only do we not have the Classic as the last race, but we have the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint at 5 furlongs at Santa Anita run after the Breeders' Cup Classic, as well as the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Excuse me, the Breeders' Cup Sprint proper is the last race. How does that change your approach when it comes to this year's Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge? Drew, we'll start with you.
Yeah, the sprint's the end, right? We'll have Elite Power. We'll
Turf
have
Sprint's last.
Classic, Turf, Sprint.
Yeah. I mean, it's a work backwards approach for me, and I love the Breeders' Cup Sprint. I think you can find some good value in there. I'm just looking over at Odds Checker to look at future odds here, and I mean, there's some interesting horses at decent prices. So work backwards from maybe trying to even just pick two to try and get to the 140 mark, or if there's any doubles in the mile. I mean, man, what Masters of the Sea, I think I texted both of you about that action, that quick action. We'll see if it translates to the Santa Anita course. I mean, that could be the cornerstone work backwards from 140 mark. But, you know, I like it because this year's Classic, I'm not married to anyone, so it doesn't bother me too much. It's going to be funky, but from a betting perspective, it's kind of like moving it in the right direction.
I wonder if the Turf Sprint being after the Classic, I wonder if it's going to be irrelevant, like just people don't fire there as much, or I wonder if somebody's going to get crazy and it could introduce an element of chaos heretofore unseen towards the end of the BCBC.
I mean, I actually think that's I think it's a formful race this year, the Turf Sprint. I mean, to me, if Caravel, Roses for Deborah, or Big Invasion don't win, like you know what I mean? Like one of those three horses who have superior numbers, who've been running triple digit type numbers, those three horses, one of them should show up, right? Mm-hmm. So, and even the sprint itself as a closing race, I mean, you know,
so
you got to think like
a Dutch all-in double, maybe even using
there's
that.
There's lots of different moves. I mean, I think it changes things, but it doesn't necessarily change much. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't change because for instance, if let's just pretend that the Classic last year was the third to last race, Drew would have done the same thing he did. The only difference is he then would have had that target on his back for two more races.
Yep.
But which I'm saying the only difference, that's a massive difference. But it doesn't change for him to try to still move the goalpost with a $20,000 bet on Elite Power or a $10,000 bet on exactas with Caravel running, running in first or second, or it just makes him have to make one more move, but you can still make your big move in the Classic. The pool's still going to be massive.
Yeah, it's a fair point. But I do think it adds a really interesting wrinkle.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
We have some great comments we got to get to. Tom, we got to bring this up. He's horrified by you, Drew. Water, I thought BCBC champs ranked top shelf 24/7.
Yeah, well, I am having my neighbors over tomorrow, and he's a big bourbon guy. And I've yet to tell him I have 2 bottles of Old Drip. It's birthday bourbon and all sorts of good stuff. So, yeah, we'll be drinking fine.
Nice.
Tomorrow.
That works.
Responsibilities
Richard wants to know if Echo Zulu's going to run against the boys or in the filly and mare sprint. What do you think about that?
She's definitely going. It's not even close. 1,000%, she's going to run against the fillies.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I miss some article where they're thinking about it, they're going to run Gunite against the boys because that's the only place they can run him. He's a gun runner owned by Winchell, and they're going to run Echo Zulu going the 7 furlongs, who just beat the champion going 7 furlongs in a grade 1 with massively fast buyers as a gun runner. They're going to try to get 2 gun runner sprint champions out of this Breeders' Cup, and his stud fee's going to go even higher than it already was.
Which is, already going to happen based on the just general success of Gun Runner. And then Naj. So he thinks it's Florida, but he does give us the New York-bred winners. Day at the Spa, so I was right about that. Bar of Gold, I should have come up with that. And London Bridge. And he's ordered the shirt, by the way.
I think Florida probably got a jump start on the state-bred program, just at the beginning years of the Breeders' Cup. But I got to think now that if you were picking the odds on who would have the most in the next 20 years, the New York bred program to me feels as if it's trending in the direction in which you would want to be on that side moving forward.
Let's take a look. We'll take a look before the next. We're almost done here, but before the next show, we'll address this next week. Which state bred programs have the most? We had such a great question about quickeners and gallopers on the turf that I wasn't able to get to. We're going to do that. If not on this show next week, we'll do it on the In the Money Players podcast in between. Too good of a question to answer in 30 seconds. We're gonna get that sorted out. Gary, we give you you shout out us. We'll shout out you in the comments. Thank you for joining us. Really, what a great show today. So much fun. Drew, we didn't use you that much, but we're glad you popped by, and we'll have you back in the future. It's all Breeders' Cup all the time on the In the Money Media Network from now until the first Friday and Saturday in November. Any closing thoughts from you, Drew?
Yeah, 6 more weekends. I am really excited to get after it. So excited to watch some Thursday night football and keep the good times rolling. So good seeing you two fellows. I don't know the last time all 3 of us were on air together. So I kind of weaseled my way into this part. So good.
I'm so glad you did.
San Fran minus 10.5.
I mean, that's a. You don't. It's very hard to make
You're
money.
A Giants fan. You're a Giants fan.
No, but I'm just saying. In general, it's very hard to make money laying 10.5 in the NFL.
The Giants O line is not going to know what to do.
I mean, it was. I mean, that was a look. That miracle, and I made one of my. I'm not joking. I mean, I'm not proud to say this because it was obviously I rivered essentially. But I made one of my largest football bets in a long time on the Giants last week money line. So I know exactly how lucky I am, and I'm not betting them tonight. But I'm just saying, I did not use the 49ers in Survivor, but that was more a case of who's coming up.
Yeah.
All
I have to say is I'm glad I wasn't around you when that sweat was going on because you would have been the nervous, version of yourself.
No, I'd accepted defeat. I was sweating it on the plane with Susan coming back from Toronto, and she was funny. She was like, "Oh, maybe they could come back," and I was like, "You don't know. We're dead. I did my money in cold blood." Blah blah blah. She was like, "You don't know." She was right. She was smarter about the incompetence of Arizona than I was. So that was how that played. But we'll do some NFL tomorrow, Drew. If you're listening to this, tune into the Players Pod. We're going to do some challenge bets tomorrow. JK, we'll get you involved in that too. This whole
What time are we going tomorrow morning, by the way?
Oh yeah, we got to do something tomorrow, don't we? I'll text you about that off air. We will not do that production meeting in the middle of the show. We are done. We're out of time. Godspeed to everybody playing. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Very active today. We really appreciate that. Drew, appreciate you coming on. JK, awesome to have you back. Should we go to the car show this weekend? I had lunch with Quincy Jones today, and he was talking about the car show. You want to go?
Maybe. Yeah, I went with him. I went with Quincy Jones last year to the car show.
I think we should. Maybe we should buy a car.
He's got to have the VIP that gets you the free rosé, or I'm not going.
All right, we'll work on the VIP for the car show. The other problem is if I want to buy one of these cars, but I can't drive stick. Am I just totally hosed?
Yeah, I'll drive it. I can drive stick.
You can. All right. Well, there we go. We'll buy an we could get some old Deuce Coupe and brand it within the Money Media. Do we have that in the budget, Drew?
As long as it's a Lincoln Continental, I think we're good to go. That would suit the hat well.
1980 Lincoln Continental. What do you think? That could be pretty cool. All right, we'll work on that. We'll finish the production meeting off the show. For JK, for Drew, this has been a production of In the Money Media in partnership with the Breeders' Cup, who we love so much. Thanks so much to Justin Haley for supporting us. Always a pleasure to work with. Thanks, though, most of all, to all of you out there supporting us, watching these videos on the replay on YouTube, joining us live every Thursday from 4 to 5. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.